This happened during the last week of October, leading up to Halloween. I lived in a quaint, small house in a very standard suburban town. I definitely enjoyed the holiday, don't get me wrong, but setting up outdoor decorations was never really my thing. A few years ago, my sister gifted me a small ghost decoration, so I just set that up in my front yard and call it a day. But a week before Halloween, I got a knock at the front door. It was my day off, so I was home to answer it. I didn't recognize the man. He was around 40, with stubble and short brown hair, and wearing a thick, puffy jacket. He had a wide smile as he said he was just wanting to tell me how much he loved my Halloween decorations. I didn't really know how to respond. Again, I only had that single, small ghost in my front yard. It wasn't even that cool or unique. Literally just a sheet of wood with a ghost painted on the front. I said thanks, and the guy kept his smile as he walked away. I found it really weird, but not concerning. Probably just a really social person. Maybe too social, to be honest. However, only a couple days later, he came back. This time, I'd gotten home from work at 7, and without even getting a chance to change out of my work uniform, he knocked on my door. I was actually very creeped out when I saw it was him again, and the conversation only made it a little more concerning. He again complimented the ghost in my yard, but instead of leaving the conversation at that, he then tried to start up small talk. I gave very uninterested one-word answers, making it clear I was not interested in whatever the hell he was trying to get at. I mean, at this point, it was just creepy. Eventually, I told him I was busy, and even then, he still tried to keep me at the door, which forced me to just close the door in his face. He stayed there for 20 seconds, looking like he was contemplating knocking on the door again, but thankfully he chose otherwise, and just walked away. Things were starting to get real creepy with this guy, but I hoped that was the end of it. Several days went by. There were no other occurrences with the man, so it had mostly fled my mind. It was Halloween night, and I'd been lucky enough to get out of work early, so I'd be home to hand out candy. I made a very early dinner, and spent the whole night going back and forth from the TV and the front door. Around 7, most of the crowds had died out, and it was just a few groups of kids coming by every once in a while. But when I opened the door to hand out candy to a few kids, I happened to notice something across from my house. I recognized the thick, puffy jacket, and knew it was the same man that had come by twice before. He was standing on the sidewalk, looking almost like he was watching me, or my house, but I couldn't tell. It was too dark. I handed out candy to the kids and watched them leave, making sure the guy wasn't following them or anything. Maybe I was over-suspicious, but the man ended up walking the opposite way, so I closed the door and tried not to worry too much. Eventually, all the kids seemed to go home, and the neighborhood streets were quiet and calm, with no kids walking around anymore. I stayed in the living room and turned on a scary movie to end off the night. I think it had to be 10 p.m. when I started it, and probably 11 or 12 when there was a sudden knock at the front door. I nearly fell off the couch by how much it scared me. I got up and cautiously looked out the door, seeing the same man standing there, and he was holding something. It was way too late for this. I immediately knew something was wrong. I didn't open the door, but he must have heard me, because he started talking. "Got something for ya. Nothing special. Just wanted to give it to you to celebrate the holiday." He knocked again. "Hello? It's just a gift. You'll love it." I didn't respond. I dialed 911 and stayed watching outside the door as I got cops on the way. He kept knocking and trying to give me this gift, but I couldn't see what it was. All I could see was a generic box in his hands. After a minute, he ended up leaving, taking the box with him. I gave cops all the info I had, but it wasn't enough for them to find him. And something tells me he was still nearby, watching as I talked outside with the cops, because after that night, he never came back. I don't know what that gift was, or why he was basically stalking me, but every year around Halloween, I get that sinking feeling, knowing he might come back to continue the harassment.